This is one task we have taken, a Bhagavad Gita study, and it's important that we finish the discussion of the chapter after everyone learns, at least goes through the chapter once. Because what Narasimhamurti ji told just now has much to do with this chapter. That's why it is very timely that what he spoke about people living selflessly for the sake of others, Loka Sangraha, with the only goal to do good to the world. They have no personal ambitions, ideas, desires of their own. That is the essence of Karma Yoga. We started in Bhagavad Gita, where a confused and despondent Arjuna, totally attached to his own ideas, asks Krishna to turn the chariot around and let's escape from the duty. But Sri Krishna, being a very good teacher, very strict teacher, ensured that Arjuna does not run away from the battlefield. Rather, he learns in that classroom of a battlefield as it was designed by Sri Krishna to teach some of the greatest truths, not only to Arjuna, but through Arjuna to the entire mankind. And we learned how Sri Krishna analytically, carefully, step by step, teaches Arjuna that there is no point in you crying like this. And he teaches him that more than this body and mind, we are the Atman. The truth of ours is that we are Atman, which is indestructible. And this body simply undergoes changes. Dehinosmin yatha dehe, kaumaram yauvanam jara, tatha dehantara prapti. So once we die, we again attain another body. Vasansi jirnani yatha vihaya. And he explains the truth of Atman to Arjuna. But it does not go into Arjuna's mind very quickly. So he says, don't worry, Ascharyavat Paschiti Kashchajenam. A lot of people look at it with wonder, try to understand, but they don't understand. So you are not new. It is a concept which is very difficult to understand. So even if you don't understand that, let us go to the next step, which is to do your duty. You are a Kshatriya, you are born to do your duty, which is not just to protect yourself, but protect Dharma at large. Just because it is not your problem, it doesn't mean that you won't act. As Kshatriya, as the king, it is your duty to protect the interest of all the subjects, irrespective of whether it directly affects you or not as an individual. And then he says that if you fight, then you will attain, and if you die in the fight, you will attain Swarga. If you win, anyway you will enjoy the entire earth. Bhokshase Mahim. So why do you worry? Either ways you make a decision and fight. He coaxes Arjuna. Then he goes on to tell, till here it was a Sankhya Yoga. He teaches him that this is important for him to act, because if he does not act for whatever reason Krishna is telling, people will laugh at him. And for ages, his enemies will make mockery of him. So it's better to die than to live with a bad name. So fight. Then he tells him how to fight the battle also. Now that you know, you will fight for one reason or the other. It could be because you are Atman, everybody is Atman and nothing is destroyed. Nobody destroys anyone. So don't worry, we were there yesterday, we are here today, we will be there tomorrow as well, because we are Atman. If not that, at least for your duty's sake you do, because if you don't do, people will laugh at you. And that is worser. So let us fight. But then he is also concerned how this Arjuna would fight. Will he now become very angry and remember all the bad that was done by the Kauravas and become aggressive, and with anger and hatred would he fight? Or is there another way to fight this battle? And then he teaches him that, see, while you fight this battle, you must fight with the idea that you are doing just your duty, discharging your duty. Samad sukha dukkha samekritva. Don't be influenced by the outcome of this battle. You do what you have got to do, that is your dharma. And how should you do it? He says, do it well. Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma paleshu kadachana. Don't worry about the outcome. Do it well. Yoga karmasu kaushalam. Do it perfectly to the best of your abilities. And don't worry about anything else. Samatvam yoga uchyate. Do it with equanimity, where you are not affected by whatever happens out of it. So he teaches him the attitude behind how he should act. He calls it as buddhi yoga, and teaches him to discriminate and perform his action without the attachment to the outcome. And then he teaches there are people who do like this, prajna pratishtita. There are people who are established in the highest knowledge. As Arjuna gets confused, how is it possible to act without desiring for results? And even if results come, should not be affected by what kind of results come. Sounds totally insane. Who works in the world without expecting any outcome? good or bad. And how can somebody remain steady even in an adverse outcome also? So Arjuna is confused. He has never met somebody. He asks Krishna, and Krishna explains what happens. Sita Prajna, what kind of people are they? How they behave. They have become desireless for themselves. They do it for the sake of others. And he teaches them how they control their senses, how their mind is within their control, how they use their buddhi to discriminate and act for the sake of doing their duty. They are not affected by anything, praise or blame. So this is how the chapter goes on. And now Arjuna is again in confusion. See, Arjuna is an eternal jignasu and a person who asks questions. And our scriptures have so wonderfully designed all the teachings in a question and answer methodology. Kathopanishad is like that. Bhagavad Gita is like that. Prashnopanishad is like that. In many places, even Mundakopanishad begins like that. So it is a methodology that our ancient teachers have adopted. Now what you call FAQ, frequently asked questions kinds. So Arjuna is asking all possible questions that can come to any sadhaka anywhere in the world. Even today, after 5,000 years, people may get questions, and Arjuna is finding answers to all those questions. So Arjuna is just representing us. How he is representing us? Because he has to perform his duty like all of us. We are teachers, we are doctors, we are engineers, we are students, we are devotees, we have a duty to perform. And in this loka, this world in which we live, there are many worlds as you know by now, but in this world, this is karma bhumi. Action is the most important thing in this world. And everybody has to perform action. Nobody can say, I have nothing to do here. I don't want to perform action. It is not possible. Ashtavakra said, even closing and opening an eye is an action. So forget about saying, I don't want to perform. Everything is action here. Whether you want to do it or you don't want to do it, you'll end up doing actions. So, what is the consequence of actions? Results. And what is that consequence of that? If you're attached to the results, then you are born again. And our concept of two things are there which are fundamental to Sanatana Dharma. One is karma and is karma prabhavas, which leads to punarjanma. So these two ideas are only existing in Sanatana Dharma. And now in the present modern times, as we say Hinduism, these two concepts are available here. One is that we have to perform actions, and there are consequences to actions which will either bind or liberate us, depends on the attitude with which we perform. But nobody can escape action in this world. Even the one who is simply sitting quietly, opening and closing eyes also is action, for which he will be bound, unless the attitude is right. Second thing, how to get rid of this punarjanma, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam chakra. Your actions have to be performed correctly. The key lies there to liberation. Key is not later. Key is in the action that we perform and the attitude with which we perform. That is why Karma Yoga is so important. See, if we all want to lead a peaceful life, happy life, free life, where we are not bound by the consequences like a slave to our karmas and karma's consequences, dragged from womb to womb, as Yama says, mrityo samrityo vapnoti, ya ihanana eva pashyati. The one who does not understand this truth goes from death to death. He doesn't even say birth to birth, because he thinks that birth is a useless birth, where you did not attain the highest wisdom. It is a wasted birth, so it's as good as death. So that is how Yama puts it. Death to death that come who do not understand this concept. So listen to this concept very carefully. Karma Yoga is the key for one to liberate oneself. And why it is important in this loka? Because nobody can escape karma. Everybody has to perform action. But what kind of action should we perform, and how should we perform that action, with what attitude, is Karma Yoga. Karma is everywhere. Karma Yoga is only for few who understand this concept. So I will not go through all the shlokas, but some very important shlokas. Let's begin with Arjuna's confusion. After having heard the whole second chapter, Sankhya Yoga, and a part of Buddhi Yoga, and having also learned that there are people who can lead lives like this, completely detached, unaffected, equanimous, which is a foreign concept to Arjuna as of now. He asks this question to Krishna. Jayasi chet karmanaste mata buddhir janardana tvakim karmani ghore mam niyojayasi keshava. He says, just now you explained there is a wisdom behind everything. Those who are wise ones, they are not having any desires to do anything. They are free from all desires. And therefore, that is better, seems like that buddhi, that jnana is better than performing actions. Because once you perform action, you have to worry about results and consequences and things like that. So I rather be somebody who does not want to perform action, but rather be established in the prajna. How that is possible, not possible. But Arjuna thinks that there is a way out, that I can directly become a jnani and I don't have to fight this battle. So he's going back to the same point that he doesn't want to fight the battle. So he says, when you say that jnana, that wisdom, that wise prajna is better than performing these kind of actions, then why are you pushing me into such a terrible war? I don't understand what you're saying. I know that you mean well, but somehow I don't understand. So he says, so I am confused. Buddhi mohya sivame. I am again confused. Which way to do? Should I become a jnani and become a sita prajna, or should I perform action? Please clarify, he says. Tadekam vada nischitya yena shreyo hamapnuyam. What will give me better results? What is good for me? Please advise me. Please guide me, he says. Is this not a dilemma for many of us, choosing to perform or not perform? Many of the people come and tell me, Swami, you are putting us to do these things. Again, we will get bound by our actions. Please allow us to meditate whole day. But I know what happens after 20 minutes of meditation. From vertical, they become horizontal. And that becomes karma. Nidra is a karma, by the way. So they'll perform karma irrespective of what they try to do. So I am saying, instead of going flat on your bed, get up and walk around and do some work. This is what I am trying to tell those people who claim that they would rather meditate in their rooms, but not come to work in the offices or in the field or anywhere that I give them work. They say, no, this is all karma. I don't want to be bound by karma, you see. I'm here to attain jnana and sit in my room and meditate whole day. This chapter is especially directed straight towards such people who have such ideas about escaping action. So our Krishna says, he's very compassionate. See, Sri Krishna's teaching, I always appreciate the way he puts his concepts. He did not say, Arjuna, oh fool, what have you not understood? I have explained so much. But he simply starts, see Arjuna, your doubt is quite genuine. Loke asmin dvividha, two kinds of people are there in this world. Nishtha pura prokta mayanagha. What I have told you about just in the last chapter, there are two kinds of people. What kind of people? Jnana yogena sankhyanam, karma yogena yoginam. Jnana yoga, some people love to contemplate, meditate on the higher truths, and they are like that. That's why we find people withdraw from the society, go to the forest or in the Himalayas or somewhere. They are one kind of people. They have their interests like that. The other kind of people are those who are interested in action. They'll do something or the other. If they don't do good things, they will end up doing bad things. So they have to be busy. So there are two kinds of people and two kinds of paths. So Sankhya Yoga, Atma exists, is an illusion, is one category of people who think like that. The other category, they have to perform actions. But what kind of action? That I have taught you as Karma Yoga. So I will elaborate now on that. That is what he's saying. But he does not straight away kind of ridicule Arjuna. But he rather explains that what you're saying is right. There are two kinds of people though, and they have different kinds of aptitudes. So accordingly, karma or the jnana is taken for them. So he says that, I'll skip a few and say, Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishchat akarmakrit. Nobody in this world, not even for a moment, can stay without performing action. Can you believe that? You will say, I'm doing nothing, I'm just sitting in my room. That is an action. How is that an action is the question that you have to sit and analyze. And he says, Karyate hi avashah karma sarva prakritir jair gunaihe. All have a nature of their own prakriti, guna. These gunas direct their action. So the one who is sleeping and apparently doing nothing is actually performing action out of tamas, tamo guna. His lethargy, his laziness, his inertia is driving him to simply lie in a place, seemingly not doing anything. But actually he is performing a karma born out of his guna of laziness. Similarly, somebody who is super active, working everywhere, doesn't want to come for satsang, doesn't want to sit a minute for meditation. Give him any amount of work he is willing to do, but can't sit in a place and meditate or contemplate. He is also performing action. He may say, I'm performing it for the sake of welfare of the world, but he is performing action out of rajoguna, which drives people to performance of actions. And somebody who does not do both and is sitting in a quiet corner and meditating on something, he is also performing action out of sattva guna. Everybody is acting, whether you dislike or you don't like, whether you want or you don't want, whether you know or you don't know. Everything is action in this world. And Ashtavakra puts it so beautifully. Those who have ego identity within themselves, I am so and so. Such a person performs action even when he does not perform an action. Only the person who has no ego, no identification with the body and the mind, such a person, even while he is performing the action, is not performing any action. For him, there is nothing called action and reaction. But anybody who still identifies oneself with the body and the mind and has not yet realized the higher truth, for him, everything is action. Even sitting quietly is an action. Even lying down and sleeping is also an action. Breathing is an action, walking, talking, anything is an action, not necessarily something that he does in the office. Everything is an action for such a person. So the same concept Krishna is saying, nobody in this world can sit for a moment without performing action. So that crucial is to know now how to perform the action so that we don't get bound by it. Can we escape action? Answer is a straight no. So how do we perform action so that we don't get caught? This is how you perform, he is explaining. He says we are all born with certain gunas. In old times, in our children when we were young, small babies, they put a few things in front of them. Do you know that method? They put a little pen or pencil and put some money, gold coins, put some items of play and things like that. And Guru will come, and generally it happens during the Namakarana ceremony, and tell you go and pick up. The child is naturally attracted towards certain things. Somebody picks up the pen and the paper, somebody picks up gold coins, somebody picks up, some things to play. Based on that, we kind of conclude what kind of gunas are there in this child. And based on that, we understand what the child is going to be in the life. Because we know we are coming from many births are there. We have been there in the past. And therefore, we bring all those ideas, aptitudes with us, which may not be fully expressive. But if you really want to know what a child is capable of, what a child is keen about, watch the child before the child becomes 5-6 years old. Whatever the child is naturally attracted to, that is his true nature. He may live an artificial life from 6th year onwards once he is taught how to behave, not to behave, what to do, what not to do. And he may continue behaving like that till his 90th year. But 91st year, he will be back to the same old habits. He will become the child again who has his own things to do and won't listen to anybody. Most of the people complain about the old people like that. They don't listen. Because they become their natural, true selves, driven purely by their gunas. Much of our life is spent artificially under the influence of others. Very few break away from that, forced conformity and do their own things. Somebody like Abdul Kalam breaks away from selling newspaper and refuses to be a cleric or whatever and goes on to become a scientist because that's what drives him. His guna is that. He's inquisitive. He wants to know how to fly a plane or how to send a rocket. So also Rabindranath Tagore, who tells his father, I can't go to these schools anymore. Please leave me alone. Give me a nice natural place and whatever I can learn, I will learn. And he never has a formal education but goes on to earn a Nobel Prize for his poetry. So also there are others. So they are driven by true gunas which are they are born with. That's why I say find the purpose of your birth. Find the purpose. And how do we find the purpose? Anything that you can do every day of your life and never get bored other than eating, sleeping and playing. Please cut that off. Playing, of course, in another way, but ahara, nidra, bhaya, maithuna. These are common animal instincts. If you say, these I love to do, I can do every day and never get bored, then that is not what I am talking about. I'm talking about apart from ahara, nidra, bhaya, maithuna, anything that you can do and do every day and never get bored, never get tired of it. You know that you are born to do that. Anything that makes you feel like an effort while doing, you know that is not what you're naturally inclined to do. So your guna will not allow you. Then you will say, oh, I'm born with tamoguna, what can I do about it? I sleep all the time. Don't question me, don't scold me. People may say like that. So for that also he comes and says, that Krishna says, there are people who are like that, who are confused about the truth and things like that, and they might say things like that as you said, that we don't want to do or we are born like that, what can I do about it? I'm lazy, I'm born lazy. This is how I am, this is my guna karma. And I will continue to be like that. So for that also he tells, and he goes on to say after some time that those people who are born like that, you should not go and disturb them in their thinking. Because they are ajnanis. If you go and tell them anything of this great knowledge, they will misunderstand it and make it worse for you. So he'll come there somewhere at some point in time. So he tells that those are born with that kind of nature, straight away don't go and disturb their work style. So many people, they do certain things, others come and tell me, why don't you advise him a little bit? Well, let him do like this. And I tell, I'll advise him at the right time. They are not ready to listen to me because they are too influenced by their karmas or gunas. So don't you do and disturb them. So Krishna goes on to say that nevertheless, you continue to do your work. How you should do yajnartha means do it as a sacrifice and as an offering. That is very important. Again, as we do all the work, we can do for our own sake to earn money, to get position, power, or whatever. But Krishna advises us in this, do it as a sacrifice, as an offering to God. But how can we offer to God certain things? It's not worth offering. Then don't do it, simple as that. It's simple as that. Is it worth offering to God is the question. Whatever you're thinking, speaking, or doing, is it worth offering? Yes, then do it. If not worth offering, don't do it. What you eat, can you offer it to God? Yes, then offer it. What you eat, you cannot offer to God, then you better not eat it. It's not worth. So he advises that while you control your mind and senses and become detached and work in the world, all that stuff, the attitude should be that of offering. So make note of this first point. First level of getting rid of karma prabhava is to make it an offering. So karma yoga, after karma yoga comes the chapter jnana karma sannyasa yoga, and then comes karma sannyasa yoga. So these are different concepts. The first level of concept in karma yoga is that everybody is born to do some action. We can't escape that. Now better do the action as an offering. Keeping your mind, senses steady and controlled, do every action as an offering. That's why I say a simple mantra can save you from all turmoils. Krishna arpanamastu. But then you offer junk to Krishna, he's not going to accept it. They'll be returned back to you. So offer only that which is worth offering. So yajnarthat karmano anyatra lokoyam karma bandhana. Because anything else you do other than the attitude of yajna, it will bind you to the world. It will create a desire, it will create a cycle, and you will be bound more and more. It's like a quicksand, The more you put effort, the more you sink. So that is the idea. But as a yajna you perform, you are liberated. So anything can be yajna. I always say, you brush your teeth, consider it as a yajna. You're cleaning your teeth so that when I pass by, I have a nice fresh breath coming from you. How do you want to present yourself to God? If God comes and says, I want to look at you, you're not going to go unshaven and without brush, unkempt, or wearing some dirty, unironed clothes. You would make the best presentation. That is yajna. You are not doing it to impress somebody in the audience or impress anybody else, or even for the pride of being to look beautiful. You're simply doing because you should be presentable. This is the best you can do when you want to see God or when God looks at you. So I insist, please shave and come. Please have your clothes ironed. Please have all the buttons in place. Please comb your hair. Please have bath and things like that. Because that karma is also yajna, if you take it with the right spirit. Don't do it to impress somebody. Don't do it for looking better than what you are. All that are lower ideas. Anything, when you're studying, do it as a yajna. Why should I study and become whatever I want to become? So that I can be of use to God. I can be of use to people. That's yajna again. Anything can be done as a yajna. Yajna is not to set up a fire altar and then learn mantras and put samit and all that. No. That's karma kanda. I'm talking about yajna. Yajna is an attitude to offer everything to God. So he says, the great Prajapati, the Brahma himself created this idea of offering everything to God. Sah yajna prajah srishtva purovacha Prajapati anena prasavishyadvamesha. So he says that the Prajapati creator in the beginning itself created the whole thing as an yajna. We had to offer everything to God. But we have been doing it another way. And therefore, for anything, you must do it with the attitude of offering. Why? Then he says a very nice idea, which many of us know, but he says that Ishtan Bhogan hi vodeva dasyante yajna bhavita. When you offer things to God, God gives back much more in return. Now that should not be the reason why you should offer, nevertheless. You offer it as out of love, as an outpouring of your love and gratitude for all that God does for you. You want to do something for Him. So whatever He has given, I want to give back to Him. So he says that we have a partnership between gods and humans. And we all know that by now we have so many gods in our culture. God of wind, God of rain, God of earth, God of many death also like Yama. And we have to offer certain offerings to certain gods. So Brahma created these ideas of worship so that you can please that particular god. And God, when pleased, will give you a lot of boons. At a very physical level, in 2015, 16, there were no rains here. It was quite dry. And the happiest were the boys in the hostel because they could have bath once in 2 days. No water, French bath. But suddenly we thought we will perform a Rudra Homa, Atirudra Mahayajna. And once we performed that, since then the rain has not stopped in Muddanri. So much so that last year we had tough time even holding water. Everything was flooded. Because these yajnas bring prosperity. That's why our ancients were always doing yajna. And what is yajna? You put something that you have got from earth back into fire. And paroksha priyaha vai devaha. These gods or the forces of nature are available, are present. And they accept these offerings. And they in return bless us. Like a father who brings a kg of sweet from the market on his salary day and gives it to the child and says, go give it to your mother, let her give it to everyone. So the child runs with the box of sweet, goes to mother. What does the mother do? She opens the sweet box, takes out 2 pieces, puts it on a plate, gives it to the child and tells, go and give it to your father. And the child runs back to the father and gives 2 pieces of sweet out of the whole box. And father becomes so happy. Look at my child, he thought of me, he brought this sweet. Next time again he wants to bring sweets because he wants to experience that love of that child. Likewise gods are. They want to feel the love of the people because they don't need anything else. They have everything. So when we do little things in the name of God, we offer it to God, God becomes so happy. He wants to give more to such people who wants to do more. In Canada, when we were sitting, some devotees were there and one fellow said, Swami, give me a lot of money so that I can do a lot of seva. I told him, you do a lot of seva and I'll give you a lot of money. It's not the other way around. You do seva, then you see. See, Narasimha is there, or Narayan Roy is there, all these elders are there. How much seva they have done. But they don't have 1 rupee in their name, 1 asset in their name. Nothing absolutely. They're perennial, as he says, I'm a perennial pauper, but I live like a prince. And I have seen through the hands of these people how much of money, how many things have happened. But nothing stayed with them. Become like that and see how you cannot get money, but you will not get for yourself. That is the catch. Give it away, you will get more. And in that, doing good to others, your good will be taken care of. So gods are like that. Gods become very happy if you do a little for them, remember them and offer them. They return it back many, many folds. Provided you have done with Shraddha. So this idea that Ishtan Bhogan Hivo Deva Dasyante Yajna Bhavita, when you do it as a Yajna, gods will bless you. Tair Dattan Apradayabhyo Yo Bhungte Stena Evasa, very important. Whatever gods have given us, if we don't offer it to them, then we are thieves. Our scripture says we are thieves. It's not about just your money, it's about anything, your talents, your knowledge, your skills, all this is given by gods. And if you don't offer it back to God, you are a thief. You are stealing away from God. That is how our scripture presents it. Can you imagine such a powerful concept? Everybody else thinks they have earned it, they own it. In India, in our culture, no. Even if I have put efforts and earned it, it's given by God only. For I tell, you can be an engineer, but have you created the space and the elements? You can be a painter. Have you created colors and light? You can be even a farmer, but have you created earth and water and all the thing that is required to grow a crop? You can be a doctor, but have you created the body in the first place? So what are you proud of? All these are given by God, using which you have become so accomplished. How do you claim it as yours? You are a thief. You are stealing it away from God. You are stealing the credit from God. You are stealing what belongs to God by calling it as your own. So that is the idea. In our culture, we were so clear, nothing is owned by us. We are just custodians, trustees. Our children are not owned by us. They are sent by God. They have their own karma. They have their own life path. We are just here to facilitate them. We are just here to support them in whatever they are to achieve. So clear. There was no sense of attachment. Imagine somebody who works like this. Can he ever develop attachment to anything in this world? It's not mine. How can I have it? You can go to a hotel. You can pay for the room, but you can't take a spoon from there. If you take it, you're a thief. Or if you don't pay for the room, you're a thief. Likewise, everything belongs to God. This body belongs to God. Everything. Parents have given the body. The life has been given by God. Many children are born with bodies but no life. So life is given by God. Likewise, our scripture says, do this way, because yajna shishtashina santo muchyante sarva kilbishaya. Because anybody who eats after having offered to God, whatever is left over, his karmas are destroyed. His all papas are destroyed. He has offered it to God and he has received everything as prasadam. So I call this as naivedyam, as the offering, and we receive prasadam in return. Let it be a singers, they sing bhajans. They sing as an offering, not to impress the audience, not to show their proficiency. And God is happy. Whatever comes back from there, it becomes prasadam. You work in organization, you work in various departments, you put your best efforts, selflessly you do work for God, work for people of God. You receive a salary or you receive whatever emoluments you consider as prasadam. And that prasadam is rightfully yours. Otherwise, it's a stolen stuff. You're a thief. Even income tax department doesn't spare if you don't pay back what they deserve. But God, He compassionately forgives us and we keep on taking God for granted. So you should always remember that, because bhunjate te tvagam papa ye pachanti atma karana. Those who eat for their own selfish sake, they are eating sin. They're eating sin, sinful things. It may not be a non-vegetarian food or something. Sin does not mean you killed somebody and ate it. Sin means even a pure vegetarian or a vegan food not offered to God is a sinful food. Likewise, our idea of scriptures of offering everything to God, every action to God, is so deep rooted in our culture. Even today, when you go to many houses, food is cooked, first they go and place it in front of altar. Whatever is being cooked. If not, at least before eating we pray. Why Brahman Padam Brahma? We tell God we are offering it to you. You are within us. You eat it, you digest it, you enjoy it. Because you are the giver. So this idea is so important. And this shloka also comes here, what I talked about, the rains. Annat bhavati bhutani, parjanyat anna sambhavaha, yajnat bhavati parjanya, yajna karma samudbhavaha. All actions should be yajna. What happens then? Because with yajna comes rains. Rains is just a symbol, it shows prosperity. And then with that rain comes food. And by eating food only we are alive. So that's why we have to perform yajna. You see what we offer in yajna, we offer food grains in yajna. Whatever we have received from earth because of rain, that is offered back in the fire. It's just a symbolic way of saying, if you offer anything to God, He will shower His grace like rains on you. And whatever you need to run your life and take care of yourself and family will be provided to you by Him, and even much more, so that you can help others in need. This is the idea of performing every action as sacrifice. The next one, which is very important, he says, this is the method for those who are bound by the idea of body and mind. But those, he says, atmanyeva cha santushtah tasya karyam na vidyate. Those who are satisfied within their selves, have realized their selves, for them there is nothing called work. It does not mean they don't work. They actually are super efficient, they are super busy. They work all the time, in fact more than others. Because they have no eye on desire, or they don't calculate how much I will receive if I work so much. If I work extra, am I going to get bonus or not? If not, then why should I work? These calculations don't exist for a jnani who are satisfied with themselves. They are not working for any reason, any expectation. For them, concept of work does not exist. That's why some people say, Yanta Shrama, it's no Shrama, only Prema. Shrama is for those who feel that they are working. I don't work. This is my nature. You look at a river and tell, how hard you work, all the time flowing. Take rest for some time. What will the river reply? River tell, go read Bhagavad Gita. You don't know what is work and what is not work. This is my nature. To live for others is my nature. To flow perennially is my nature. To be selfless and quench the thirst of others is my nature. This is my guna. This is how I am. A jnani is beyond 3 gunas. That jnani works out of satisfaction and happiness of his own self. He is happy. That is why Brahma Vidam Varishtam, Mundakopanishad says, Atmarati Atma Krida Kriyavan. They are happy and busy in themselves, yet they work for the sake of others, not for their sake. So those people, there is nothing called work. So he says, Naiva tasya kritenartho na kriteneha kaschana na chasya sarva bhuteshu kaschidartha vipashrayaha. He says, for them, such people, there is no interest in whatever is done. They do it with great interest, but they have no expectation of returns. So not for any reason, just for the sake of doing, they do. And even if something is not done, they are not worried about it. In doing and not doing, they are same. What does it mean? I set out to do something. For some reason, it could not be done. Now, should I sit and lament about it? No, they let go of that also. They did their best, tried, didn't happen, all right. Because they were not expecting anything in return. But imagine a businessman who sets up a business, invests crores of rupees and does not earn profit. Can he afford to say this? It's all right. He can't. Because he has expectations out of it. So a selfless being has no expectations. They do, and that's why they are free from the results and outcomes. So they are never bound. So that is the idea. They are not dependent on anybody. See, many people think, I keep talking to people, do this for me, will you do that for me? Are you really doing it for me? When I tell, go work in my hospital, do this for me. What can I do for you, Swami? Work in the hospital, you're a good doctor. Is he really doing it for me? Am I the patient there whom he's going to treat at least physically? No. So they are not dependent on anybody. I tell people, donate for this cause and contribute for that cause. Is it for my sake? No. I am not dependent on anybody. So that's what it says. Sarva bhuteshu kashchidartha vipashara. For no reason they are dependent on anybody. I may look like I am dependent on all of you for the sake of the work that we do. And sometimes I will go bend backwards to even, convince you to do things. And many times people say, oh, that person is throwing so much of tantrum. Why do you even do this? Then I tell, there is nothing like doing and not doing for me. If something good comes out of it in which that person is redeemed and also good happens to the society, I am happy in that. So, but I am not dependent on them. And nobody should ever think they are doing a favor to me here. Be mindful of that. If they think that Mithyachara, Krishna says they are behaving in a falsehood way, in a hypocrite, they are hypocrites. So you are not doing a favor to me. So anybody thinks that, oh, I came here, I am singing for you, I am cooking for you, I am doing this for you, do that for you. How much I am doing for you? They are the biggest Vimudatmas. Because they are thinking they are doing it for somebody else, for me. I am not dependent on anybody. I am only doing for the Loka Sangraha, for the sake of others. Nothing for me. Therefore, I have no bondage, I have no expectations, no desires, and nobody can ever blame me that I did this for you and you should have done this for me. No, that doesn't exist for me. Because nothing I do for myself. So this is the idea. Because he says, Krishna in the next sloka, asakto hi acharan karma paramapnoti purushaha. Such a person who is unattached to the work will attain the highest. Now karma is to jnana. You do your actions like this as yajna, without any attachment, do for the sake of others, without any dependency on anything, you will attain the highest wisdom. You become a jnani. That's what he tells him. So he gives example like Janaka and others. Janakadayaha loka sangrahamevapi sampatshan kartumarhasi. Janaka was a king and he was a very great king. In fact, his example is quoted everywhere for a king who was Jivan Mukta, who had no attachments whatsoever. So when he met Ashtavakra, he told Ashtavakra, I don't want to be a king anymore. Yesterday I met some devotee. She said, I don't want anything anymore in life. I said, it's the same case as Janaka, who did not want to be a king anymore once he learned the wisdom. But then Ashtavakra says, Janaka, till yesterday you were a king because you wanted the kingdom. Today you be a king because your kingdom wants you. For the sake of kingdom, be a king. You need to be a king, not that you want to be a king. So that is the idea of these people. So he says, for loka sangraha, for the betterment of others, welfare of others, this to do. And these are very important shloka. This perfectly applies to us. Yadyaja charati shrestha tatat deve tarojanaha sayat pramanam kurute lokas tadanuvartate. This I quote often. The way noble people conduct themselves, that is how others follow. If they don't set a good example, the world will have bad examples to follow. That's what is happening in the world. We have too many bad examples. And our generations after generations, they're getting unfortunately influenced by these bad examples. And they do all these kinds of things by influenced by such people. Now we have something called social media influencers. That is a new category of profession. These people are called influencers. Their whole job is to produce some kind of content which will influence people. And sometimes they set bad examples. So we need good examples in the world. For that sake you work, Krishna is telling to Arjuna. Well, let us work in this world. Let us not run away from work. But let us set an example for others. We set a hospital like this. It's an example. Who knows, somebody will get inspired someday. We want to talk about free medical education. That is what I was telling in the hospital. I said, I hope someday other medical colleges will get inspired. At least few seats they will keep for poorest of the poor without charging them. They may not be willing to do everything as we do, but at least some influence. Let us see. So we have to set example. It's important. And I always say the best service you can do to the world is to be an example. So that is what Krishna is saying. He says, Name parthasti kartavyam. Here Krishna tells about himself. I have no duty in the three worlds. Don't think this battle was to be fought and my design and my reason, my wish. No, I have no duty. I have no duty to be your charioteer. I am doing for a greater good of the world that I am your charioteer. Otherwise, I am a king. Why should I sit at your feet? But he is doing that. So he says, I have no work whatsoever, no duty. Nobody can force me to work. But still I act, I work every moment. Every moment. Though I have nothing to attain, nothing to gain, and there is nothing that I have not have. I don't have. I have everything with me. Yet I work. That is what Narsimurti ji was saying just now. Do I get a salary out of this work? No. Do I get a position, name, fame? Nothing I get out of it. Now why do you work? For Loka Sangraha, for setting an example for others. There is nothing to gain, nothing to lose. And this is what I was telling earlier also. That I always ask myself, for what sake I work every day? Am I attached to this work? Am I attached to the place? Am I attached to the people? And I ask myself, if for whatever reason for some reason I have to drop everything, am I willing to do it? And if the answer is yes every day, only then I continue to work the next day. The day the answer becomes no and I feel no, I think I would like to continue and do this and do that, I think that is the day when I don't want to be here. I have to be here and do what I need to do as long as I'm not attached to it. That is the idea. You do it for the greater good of the world. And he says, those who follow my example, whom I have told these things, they benefit. And Krishna says very clearly here that if I stop working even for a moment, the whole world will be destroyed. Here Krishna is not referring to himself as Shri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva. No. He is referring to himself as the very Paramatma, whose presence makes everything happen. If God goes out, nothing remains. Kimatra parishishyate, that's what Kathopanishad keeps reiterating. What else is there? If he's not there, then nothing is there in this world. We are all shadows, we are all illusions. The object, the original, the real is him, is that divinity. So Krishna is first time referring himself like this, and he will reveal a little more in the next chapter. See, you have to understand, Arjuna does not know who Krishna truly is still. You have to assume like that. He thinks he's his brother or his cousin or friend. First time he became his guru. And now Krishna slowly wants to tell him who he really is. And he says, if I don't work even for a moment, the whole world will get destroyed. And Arjuna actually should think, but Krishna is not working for the whole world. How does it apply? But here Krishna is revealing his true nature slowly in Bhagavad Gita one by one till he takes him all the way and shows Purushottama yoga is there and he reveals his Vishwarupa Darshana. He'll take it to the highest. But here he already started sowing the seed that Utsideyu rime loka na kuryam karma chedaham. If I don't work even for a moment, whole world will come to a standstill. Because divinity is the reason why we are all doing what we are doing. Na pranena panena matyo jivati kasyana itarena tu jivanti yasminetau upashritau. We are living because of something other than breathing. Just because we breathe, we don't live. We are living, so we are breathing. And that life is happening to us because of divinity. And here he says, Na buddhi bhedam janayed ajnanam karma sanginam joshayet sarva karmani vidwan yukta samacharan. 26th shloka. This is what I was referring. There are people who are doing work ignorantly. Don't go and disturb them. Let them continue. If you give him gyan, what is this anta maya, what is he going to attain out of it, everything will become dust, you will confuse them. Because they haven't understood your level of understanding of spirituality, you will confuse them. They will give up doing whatever they are doing also, thinking that karma is going to bind us, so let us not do any action. They will end up in inaction and world will come to a grinding halt. So people who are men of wisdom like Krishna here, though he knows everything, yet he is taking Arjuna step by step. Learn karma yoga first, then I will teach you karma sannyasa yoga. Don't you jump straight away there. This is how Krishna patiently is teaching. When I tell you, I know many people come here and say, I want to attain the wisdom, I want to realize the self, I want to feel oneness everywhere. I tell yes, yes, yes. All that will happen. First you go to the kitchen and cut vegetables. Begin there. I want to feel the oneness with the whole creation. Yes. It will happen. First you teach our students next day's physics and maths. I want to be Atma Gyani Jivan Mukta. Yes, it will happen. Go to the hospital and serve the patients. Begin there. This is what Krishna is saying. Don't you disturb people with their gunas. Just because you know more than them, don't try to influence them. Let them continue. A time comes for everybody to know the truth. As they purify themselves by doing selfless action, they are ready to receive the truth. That is when it has to be told, don't go and confuse them. Instead, what you can do, he says, Joshaye, inspire them to do what they do better by your example. So why people work, Gyanis work in the world to create example and inspire the others also to do their job well as an offering, as a yajna, so that they'll purify themselves and one day they're ready to attain the jnana. And Krishna reveals the secret, prakrite kriyamanani gunaihi karmani sarvasha ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate. All people are driven by their gunas. Nobody is free of gunas. Only a jnani who is beyond 3 gunas is free. All others are driven by gunas. But they think they are doing, but their gunas are making them do. We have a very good example. A boy is there all the time, he sleeps. Anytime, anywhere. Whatever you do, you blow a conch, like Kumbhakarna, his guna. He'll sleep. Whatever you do, he'll sleep. Whatever you do, he'll eat. Bakasura. You can't change them because they're so deeply steeped into their gunas. But slowly they can be purified in the company of good people, get inspired by seeing their example and overcome their guna, transcend it one day and become a Jivan Mukta. That is the process. But Krishna says everybody is driven by guna. Why a person wants to do MBBS and cut open hearts? Somebody else, a poetic heart, will faint at the sight of blood. But a doctor is excited to do operations because their gunas drive them to do so. So that is what Krishna reveals. Don't think it is you who is doing, your gunas are pushing you to do that. Only the one who has transcended that guna is free and he is doing things as per his happiness and not driven by any duty, not driven by any guna. Such a person is always free. And he goes on to tell, Guna guneshu vartanta iti matva na sajjate. Remember this, that gunas are pushing you to do the activity according to their likes and dislikes and be detached from the activity. So a doctor who is excited to do a surgery is his guna of being a doctor that he is doing that. He should remain a detached, differentiate. Atma is not attached to these actions and reactions. That way you differentiate, he says. And then he says that don't disturb those who are already steeped in gunas. They are yet to attain that knowledge. Don't be too early like a small child who knows sun rises in the east and sets in the west. You go and tell him that sun does not rise and set. It's earth which is going on revolving. That fellow will be confused. And he will rather think you are a fool who does not know your subject. So don't go and talk to those who are not ready. Na putraya datavyam, na shantaya. That's Shvetashvatara Upanishad said. Don't give this knowledge to just anybody who are not ready for it. So let them work their way through karma yoga. And he continues, says, Mai sarvani karmani sanyasyat adhyatma chetasa. Remembering your divinity, work. And that way, nirashi nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva vigatajvara. Get rid of this fear of I don't want to do, or this attachment. Become a person without expectation, without attachments, and fight the war. Krishna is again coming back to the same original point. You have to fight the war. You can't run away. And he says, Shraddhavanto anasuyanto muchyante tepi karmabhi. Those who listen to my teachings and don't find faults with it. Many people find faults with it. Anusuyanto, they should be without finding faults with my teachings. Who follow it, they are redeemed. Shankaracharya was there, he was walking. You know what happened? His disciples who were following, they were watching Shankaracharya. He became very thirsty and he went to a toddy shop. Toddy, village liquor. And he asked, I'm very thirsty, give me something to drink. That fellow gave him a pot of toddy. And he drank it in one breath. And all the disciples thought, look at him, full pot he drank. He calls himself monk and all that. And look at him, he's enjoying a country liquor. Anyway, after some time, again Shankaracharya is thirsty. And he looks around and there is a kind of iron smith who melts iron and makes pots and things like that, articles. He tells him, I'm very thirsty, give me something. He gives him a hot molten iron. And Shankaracharya drinks that also and walks away. And then disciples thinks that, okay, so I should not compare myself with him. Because I will think like that, see how he lives like this and he asks us to live like this. But I am unattached. If I give you the same things, you will get attached in one day. And then you will suffer. So don't you compare directly like that without knowing the truth behind. So he says, become like that, follow my teaching, don't find faults with my teaching, and you will be redeemed. And goes on to say, the indriyas are like that, they are always having raga and dvesha, attachment or aversion to everything. If you like something, you want to eat it. If you don't like something, you want to reject it. This rejection and acceptance is a concept of indriyas only, it is not of Atman. For Atman, everything is acceptable. So he tells indriyas are like this, don't be influenced by them. Go beyond. Your Indriyas are telling, your moha is telling you, do this, don't do that, but don't be like that. Tayor na vasham agachetau. Don't get influenced, because hyasya paripantino, they are like highway robbers. They will steal away things, they'll distract you. You look this way and they'll steal away whatever you have. So be very careful, don't be controlled by your indriyas, and do your duty. Shreyan sadharmo viguna paradharmat sanushtitat. Swadharme nidanam shreya paradharmo bhayava. Whatever duty has been given to you, your dharma has been given to you, do that dharma. That's why we had divisions in the society. Everybody was supposed to do certain kinds of roles. All cannot do each other's role. Mouth can do hand's job, hand cannot do feet's job, feet cannot do stomach's job. It does not mean they are superior or inferior to each other. Likewise, everybody had a duty according to their guna dharmas. And they were told, you this you do, this will be best for you. And that's how people were able to perform duties, and society was in harmony. So Krishna says, do your duty as a Kshatriya. Don't try to become a monk at this point in time. Don't try to be sannyasi at this point in time. That is not going to bring you good. So Shreyan Sadharmaya Nidanam Shreya. Better to die doing your duty than to copy somebody else which you are not. Many people try to copy others, but they are not. And they are neither get this nor get that. They are all confused. And he says, and final part of the Bhagavad Gita, this chapter, when he tells you, control your indriyas and don't be influenced by them, he asks, now I understood so many things. We should do our duty. Then why people commit sins despite knowing all these truths? It's very important for youngsters. Yatha kena prayuktoyam pavam charit purushaha. Why do people commit sins despite knowing all these truths? Anichannapi vashneya baladiva niyojitaha. As if they've been forced to do this, even though they don't want to do it. Many times children write, I don't want to do it, Swami, but I got angry again. I didn't want to do this, but I did it again. Why do I do this when I know I shouldn't be doing it? As if I've been forced to do it. Gunas are there, no? They push you. So Krishna says, Kama esha, Krodha esha, Rajoguna samudbhavaha. This Rajoguna in us pushes to develop desires and become angry when desires are not fulfilled. This Rajoguna pushes us. Tamoguna people have no desire, lying around happily. Jada. But Rajoguna people have tremendous desires. So in action, the risk of developing desires lie. So be very careful. If you have a lot of Rajas, control it with Sattva, otherwise you'll end up in Mahashano Mahapapma Vidhaya Ena Iha Vairinam. These are the biggest enemies, Kama and Krodha, which are born out of Rajoguna. So be careful, he tells him. And he says, Dhume navriyate vahini, like the smoke covers the fire, like the dust covers the mirror, like the womb covers the fetus, likewise these Kama Krodha cover the jnanam in you. It does not allow you, though it is there, it does not allow you to see what? Desires and the anger that arises out of it. So get rid of desires is what he's saying. Selflessly work for the welfare. And he says, what kind of these are? Nitya Vairina, they are your constant perennial enemies. Not that they are enemy on Sunday and Monday they'll become your friends. Your desires and angers are your enemy forever. So get rid of them, he says. Kama Rupena Kaunteya Dushpurena Nalena Cha. Very important. He says this is like an insatiable fire. Some people say, I have developed this desire. If I fulfill this desire will disappear. Never it happens. If you put more ghee in fire, fire is not going to be satisfied. It will ask for more. See, some gurus have this philosophy. Let them do what they want to do, because once they'll get fed up with it, that what you call the concept of, we have that, marginal utility concept. You eat too many sweets, you don't feel like eating sweet. Maybe not on that day. Next day you'll again feel like eating. So, dushpurena analena cha. It is like a fire which cannot be satisfied. So, don't try to fulfill desire to overcome desire. The only way to get away from desire is to get rid of it and develop selflessness is what he's saying. And he says, where do these desires breed? They breed in our senses, mind and buddhi. They are a breeding ground, like our water, stagnated water is breeding ground for mosquitoes. Desires breed in our indriyas, our mind and a bad buddhi. They are the places where it grows. They create delusions in oneself and cover the jnana. Therefore, first and foremost, what you do, Krishna tells him, Tasmat tvam indriyanya adav niyamya bhartarshaba. Before you start on spiritual path, control your senses. That is what he's saying. Begin with that. So how do I help you doing that? I keep you so busy that there is no time to run behind senses. All the time you're busy, from 4 o'clock that you get up till 10 in the night, you're continuously working. People think, why such a hectic schedule? This is the reason. So that you can control yourself a little bit. And then he says, Indriyani paranyahu indriyabhya paramanaha manasistu parabuddhi yo buddhe paratastu saha. Beyond indriyas is the mind, beyond mind is the buddhi, beyond buddhi is the atman. that divinity. So he advises him, use that divinity to steady yourself. Invoke that divinity within you, invoke that divine power within you. Don't reject yourself, or don't, think of yourself as just body and mind, weak-minded. I am useless, I am weak-minded. This negativity should not be there. Remind yourself, whom aham eva aham avyayaha, aham brahma sarvam brahma. These are the truths you have to remind yourself every day about. That will give you the strength to overcome silly, petty desires, to control your senses, and become completely established in that. So that is the final conclusion. He says, using this, buddheya param buddhva samstabhyatmanatmana, using this ultimate knowledge, control your things, and then jahi shatru mahabaho kam rupam durasada. All these desire, this enemy of desire can be destroyed using the higher truth of self. So this is the end of this Karma Yoga chapter. Idea is that we have to perform action. We cannot escape action. Actions should be performed for the sake of others, like Janaka and others. Like God performs actions though he has no duty, but he does for the sake of others as a yajna, without any desire whatsoever. And such a person who is free from desires born out of any action, such a person is Jivan Mukta. He can happily roam around the world, nothing happens. As they said, Ashtavakra tells about that. Bhrantasyeva dashastas tadrishayeva janate. He looks like a deluded person, but he is a wise one. Why? Because he has nothing, no desire, nirhankara, nirashe. Such a person alone enjoys the world. For all others, world is enjoying them. They think they are enjoying the world, but they are wrong. So if you want to work in the world which you have no choice about, work. Whatever has been given to you, do it well, but do it as an offering to God, as a first step of Karma Yoga. Don't try to escape action. Do it well, do it selflessly as an offering. That will help you to control your mind and senses. Invoke the divine power which is within you. Infinite is your potential. Remind yourself all the time and work accordingly. This is the ultimate essence of Karma Yoga. But this is the first step in the karma. The next step, Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga, takes you further deeper. It asks you the question, who is the doer in the first place? That is the question being asked next. You think you are doing, and then you are offering, and then you are getting rid of the desire of the results. Wait. Who is doing in the first place? Are you the one who is doing? That is the question coming in the next chapter. So we will learn that next chapter. Anyway, today it's a lot of time. But as a Shubhasya Shigram, whatever good is there, it should be done early. And even at the cost of a late dinner and skipping the Paravidya classes. This is Paravidya. So this is what you should remember, and it's a very important concept, Karma Yoga. Bhagavad Gita begins with this concept and then takes you to the higher concepts, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga and other things. Begin here, begin right, everything will fall into place. Especially people working in organizations like ours should know Karma Yoga, how to work.